It's time to talk sports. It's Hacksaw's Headlines, a panorama of the world of sports, stories, comments, and opinions. Now, here's iconic sports talk show host Lee Hacksaw Hamilton and co-host John Riley.
Who wants to talk sports on a Thursday? We do, you do. From the DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Center studios in San Diego, it's the opening day of the baseball season. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, along with my co-host John Riley, broadcasting his opinions from left field. We welcome you to our Thursday podcast, brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers. Build it, fix it. We guarantee you will enjoy it. At DIXIELINE, go to DIXIELINE.com to see how they can help you. They've got materials, they've got ideas, they've got an unbelievable reputation in the industry at DIXIELINE Lumber. John Riley, good afternoon. It's opening day, green grass, blue skies, yellow sunshine across all of the ballparks in Major League Baseball. Play ball.
Play ball. This should be a national holiday. We're all just feeling the good vibes.
And we did not violate the dress code. The dress code was we would wear something to represent the two teams that draw the most interest here on the West Coast. He chose brown. I had to wear blue. Here we are getting ready to talk baseball with you because today is our baseball preview. We are going to go team by team, division by division. But before we do that, just a quick reminder. When we are done having put topics on the table, we will open it up to Fans Forum. John, just describe how that works for all the people that are new to the live stream and to the podcast.
Sure. So Fans Forum is your chance to get involved. You have a question for Lee Hacksaw Hamilton in the world of sports, just drop your take in the live chat on YouTube, on X, on Facebook. We'll get you involved at the conclusion of Hacksaw's Headlines.
And just a couple of other reminders. If you like sports, I write sports every day. Have you ever checked my website? The address is leehacksawhamilton.com. It's all written. It's a volume of information, regardless of what the sport is. You love Major League Baseball. There's a ton of information there. All things about the NFL draft. You're into the NBA playoff run, the NHL playoffs, etc. I cover it all. It's there every day. leehacksawhamilton.com. Next item, when you go to my website, there's an orange box right in the upper corner of the homepage. Join the Insiders Group. Just fill out the information there. You'll get on our email list for all the different things that we make available. We want you to share. Tell everybody what we do Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30 p.m. Want you to subscribe. When you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you thereby get the alerts every time we put something up on the YouTube channel, which is a lot of different days of the course of the week. And if you're on social media, want you to join my team, Hacksaw's Twitter All-Star Group. Just go to X, just type in @Hacksaw1090 or type in Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. It'll take you right to my account. Hit the follow button. John, I think we got everything covered. Are you ready to talk baseball?
Yes, we're ready, man. You know, we're watching the game while we're doing the podcast. This is going to be fantastic.
Okay, we're going lots of different directions. Just bear with us. We will try to roar through this, but we will give you opinions, and then we want baseball fan to pile in, jump on board. I want you to be part of Fans Forum on opening day. Okay, you wanted to start in the American League?
Yeah, you know, I always make a pet peeve out of this. It always starts with the AL East. So here we go.
Okay, American League East. The headline, the Yankees are dead. That's going to upset an awful lot of New Yorkers here on the West Coast. It'll probably upset people on the East Coast. At the end of the day, I'm not doing these picks just based on emotion. I'm doing it on facts. And the facts are the Boston Red Sox have been building towards this, and I think they're about to arrive. Obviously, with the arrival of Alex Bregman, the big bat, coupled with Devers, coupled with all the young guys they've got in the batting order that they force-fed last season, and then the arrival of Garrett Crochet to be the ace of the staff and a group of other young pitchers they have, I got Boston finishing first. I got the Yankees in trouble. So much so they're not even going to finish second. Now, Baltimore has 1-1 with a lot of kids. Don't think they did enough in the offseason to add to their roster, and they don't have Corbin Burns, who was there 1 year and left as a free agent, and they're without Gunnar Henderson, who starts the season with this lingering oblique problem in his rib cage. But it is a 162-game schedule. I think the Orioles are going to finish second. The Yankees I have dragged into third place. There is no Garrett Cole. They are down 3 of their 5 starting pitchers to start the season. There is no Giancarlo Stanton. Obviously, Soto is gone. So to me, it's almost like Aaron Judge against the world, and they just did not do anything to try to go out and replace the loss of the ace of their pitching staff. I got the Yankees in 3rd place. I got Toronto finishing 4th. The Blue Jays don't have enough. The Blue Jays have a monster distraction situation with the slugger Vladimir Guerrero and what's going to become of Bo Bichette. I just think Toronto's got so many things off the field they've just never solved. And I'll tell you, everybody dislikes the manager, and even more people dislike the general manager. I think the Blue Jays are in trouble. And Tampa's lost its pitching ace for the 2nd year in a row. Shane McClanahan never got to opening day. Now he's got a tricep injury after missing a whole bunch of last season. Rays are in all kinds of trouble right now. I just don't think they have enough players on this everyday roster. And you add into that equation, they're playing at Legends Field, Steinbrenner Field in Tampa. They're going to play outdoors, 81 outdoor games in Tampa in the heat, humidity, and there's always a lot of rain on the Sun Coast. I just think it's going to be a miserable season for lots of different reasons. Tampa Bay Rays baseball, and of course, hanging over them is the cloud of the fact that the stadium situation has just completely fallen apart, and they may be going back to Tropicana Field in a year, and a lot of people didn't like the old Tropicana Field. Now it's been devastated by a hurricane. So, John, I'm picking the Bo Sox won. The Yankees are dead. Give me your impressions broadcasting from left field.
The Yankees are dead. It's like something from a Monty Python movie. I will say this, it's good for baseball when the Red Sox are a good team, and because the fan base for Boston is just so passionate. It's different than the Yankee fans, I think. And I love seeing the Orioles kind of rising up. So this is a nice turn of events. Now, what's your take on this whole, moving Devers to DH, making third base available for Alex Bregman? Do you think that's going to be a distraction?
Bregman, Green Monster, hits home runs, will hit for average. I think he'll do pretty well. Devers will play where Devers is asked to play, despite the fact he pronounced early when spring training opened, I am your third baseman. Well, now he's your DH. Statistically, he's not a great third baseman. There was talk of flipping him to second. There was talk about just letting him be a DH. Because you got Bregman there, I think you cede to Bregman's strength, which is third base, hitting home runs over the Green Monster in Fenway. I think the Bo Sox endeavors, they'll be okay. And he got his contract, so there shouldn't be any points of complaint from Raf Devers. Boston force-fed a ton of young guys last year. They were terrible at the start of the season, and at the end of the day, they got progressively better and better and better. And a lot of people think this is the year that they make the breakthrough and then trade in to get Garrett Crochet without giving up any of the marquee young guys. That was the stunner to me, is the White Sox didn't get the top young players that the Boston Red Sox had on their roster. Boston still got those guys. So that's why I'm picking the Red Sox to win. And I think the Yankee run has been derailed only because of the fact the Yankees ownership has capped the payroll at $304 million. They did not let Brian Cashman go out and make a deal after Garrett Cole got hurt. And then you add into the equation, like I said, 3 of the top 5 starting pitchers are on the disabled list here on opening day at Yankee Stadium. So that's all things American League East.
Yeah, I noticed Clark Schmidt's on the DL, or the IL, I should say. And also for the Red Sox, I saw Tristan Casas. He's going to be batting third in the lineup. So, I mean, they're going with the young kids. It's going to be drama unfolding in Tampa with this new minor league stadium. Wait till we get into the summer. It's going to be just brutal.
You think? On the Sun Coast, in the rain? Oh, unbelievable. Okay, that's all things American League East. If you're with us on the live stream, you're a baseball fan, might be a Yankee fan, transplanted Red Sox fan, jump on board, get in line so you can spray hit an opinion to us. We go from the American League East to where?
Oh, the American League Central. Here we go. Tigers on top.
We have talked about building. I am of the opinion this is the year. It's time to win. Good headline there, John. They got their ace, Tarek Skubal, who they did not trade. They went out and they got Jack Flaherty from the Dodgers. They got Reese Olson. They got a whole group of everyday guys in the batting order led by Riley Green and Kerry Carpenter and Matt Vierling, that I just think collectively it's a pretty good team. And now I think they have enough pitching to make this thing work. I got Detroit finishing first. I like Kansas City. They got Bobby Wood, who I think is a star that doesn't get enough recognition. I like Kansas City because they have rented all these veteran pitchers led by the ex-Padre Michael Wacha. And now they got Cole Reagans, who I think might be the second best left-hander in the American League, the big strikeout arm. And they traded for Jonathan India, who I think is a very active, very good second baseman, third baseman, shortstop, came from Cincinnati. I got Kansas City finishing second. I got Cleveland in third. I'm really disappointed because this is a good young team wrapped around the veteran Jose Ramirez, but it's an ownership group that just does not want to spend any money. And what bothers me is I worked in Cleveland. I'm, full disclosure, grew up an Indians fan. That's a great regional market. They've drawn phenomenal numbers way back over the years when they had good products. And instead, Indians ownership, Guardians ownership, what the hell they ever call them, is more cost conscious than it is victory conscious. I'm really disappointed that. That's why I got Cleveland third. Minnesota, I think, is a sad state of affairs. A lot of young players. Ownership's trying to sell the franchise, cut payroll. I don't think they have anywhere near enough pitching to go on that staff. Poor Carlos Correa. He signed there, got the multi-year deal. It's like he's the only one with any credibility in the Twins lineup right now. And the White Sox, they traded virtually everybody away with the exception of Luis Robert. I got a ton of young guys, but young guys don't win when they're all on the major league roster. I think the White Sox are going to have another miserable season. Andrew Benintendi, their only real veteran player, he's on the disabled list with a fracture. He's going to be out for an extended period of time. End of the day, they lost 121 games last season. You'd have to argue with me out in left field, John. They might lose 121 or more this season. I say go Tigers, go. What do you say?
This has got to be the most boring division of the 6 in Major League Baseball. Now, granted, if you're a Tiger fan or a Twins fan, this is sacrilege what I said. But for me, every year it just seems like it's the Twins that sort of win the division with 84 wins, and we saw a little bit of Kansas City. I know some people are picking the Royals to go to the World Series. I mean, they could light it up here. But to your point, yeah, the Guardians, I mean, you're right. That is a great regional market. That should be a much more competitive team. Why? What's holding them back? Is it just money, or are they just making bad deals or injuries? They got rid of Naylor.
Farm system. Don't want to pay money. Try to re-sign some people. Did give Ramirez a contract extension when he was a young star. But at the end of the day, this is their budget. They don't want to spend over the budget, even though it could be a great regional franchise. It draws over $3 million. If Cleveland did and committed to what the Seidlers did with the Padres, Cleveland could be San Diego, with the only difference being the winter weather. Cleveland could be a really good, medium-sized market, regionally successful franchise who would draw from everywhere, not just Northeast Ohio, Northwest Ohio, Central Ohio, probably from Western Pennsylvania, but they won't do it. So it's a sad commentary as to the situation. So, yeah, I agree with you. National League Central, boring.
It is boring, but, go Cavaliers, go. I think that's going to be the chant in Cleveland.
Okay, we move on from the Central, and if you're a baseball fan transplanted from the Midwest, you're watching us on live stream, jump into the Fans Forum chat box, give us an opinion on what was said about the National League Central. Next stop.
Okay, next stop, Texas, take them.
American League West, the return of Bruce Bochy. They conceivably could be not only just the West Division champs, they could, in all honesty, be in a situation, might be a postseason team, maybe even a World Series team. Now, Texas was destroyed by injuries last season, wreckage in the pitching staff, and then they started to lose everyday players. But as we sit here at opening day, they got their ace back, Nathan Eovaldi. They got the former New York Mets ace, Jake DeGrom, who's been down 2 years, is now just looks like the guy that was so dominant when he pitched for the New York Mets. Corey Seager is totally healthy. They traded for another big bat in Jake Bergen. They got Marcus Semien. They got Adolis Garcia. I think it's a really, really good team. So good a team that the number 1 draft pick power hitter, Evan Carter, who was supposed to be in the opening day lineup, was starting the season at AAA. He couldn't crack the lineup. I think Bochy in Texas, led by the general manager, Chris Young, that's a pretty good team. Second team in the American League West, unbelievably great pitching staff. Not enough bats, but because of the rest of the division is not really good, I got the Mariners finishing a decent second place. I got a whole pile of guys made 30 starts last season. They got 5 starting pitchers. All of them are still there. Now, I always wonder about the wear and tear factor. But you look at Seattle, they got to find some more people to help Julio Rodriguez. But they are loaded in the rotation. And maybe some of the veterans who had substandard seasons last year are going to have bounce-back seasons to protect Rodriguez. In the batting order, I got Seattle finishing second. Third place, Houston is now not what Houston used to be. Bregman is gone. Before that, Correa was gone. You look at Houston, they traded Kyle Tucker away. I don't think they got even value there. I mean, that's 3 significant star players that Houston had. They did sign the first baseman, Christian Walker. He can hit. He's got some power. Keep an eye on Rookie of the Year candidate, the outfielder, the kid Cam Smith. Awful lot of young pitching, and they have a history of injury problems to the pitching staff. Framber Valdez starts as the number 1 guy. We're going to have to wait and see whether the kid Brown, whether the kid Blanco, and whether Luis Garcia comes back from the elbow problem. But those are starters 2, 3, and 4. I'm not a big believer they're going to ever see anything positive or what Lance McCullers used to be. I just don't think he can come back. So I got Houston finishing a disappointing and a distant third. Angels are 4th. Angels got Mike Trout, but call them team utility man. I went through the Angels opening day roster, and they've kind of made some acquisitions. Yusei Kikuchi as number 1 starter. The ex-Chicago Cub Kyle Hendrick as the number 2 starter. They just don't have enough. They have 6 pitchers of the 12 that are on their opening day roster have never accomplished anything in Major League Baseball. Here's the ball. Go out. Let's see how it works. That's too many young pups, I think, to have out there in that rotation. And the bullpen is going to be fun with Ben Joyce and obviously Kenley Jansen. But at the end of the day, it's team utility man. Look at the infield. I mean, I got so many guys hurt that they're relying on Tim Anderson to bounce back and be what he used to be to kind of save their season there. I just don't know Angels have enough. Now, I don't think they'll lose 99 games. Maybe they win 75. I mean, if they go from 63 wins to 75, I guess that's an accomplishment. The Athletics, very young roster. Even though they went out and made a couple deals to try to buy some veterans to stabilize a very young roster. Brent Rooker's pretty good. Lawrence Butler's pretty good. They got Severino. They got Jeffrey Springs. I just don't know that they have enough to really compete over a 162-game schedule. And now you're playing in the heat and the humidity in a minor league ballpark in Sacramento. And even though it'll be full of Northern California fans, what a challenge for Mark Kotsay. So I got Texas probably running away with the thing, and I'm hoping the Angels make a little bit of progress to start this road back. It's awful tough, though, with the roster they have. And John Riley's opinion from left field is?
Yeah, the Rangers are solid. I mean, to me, the Rangers are the one good team I often forget about, so maybe it's because they've had so many pitching injuries, especially with DeGrom and all of that, the history there. But it's nice to see the Astros take a couple of pegs down. I'm still angry about 2017 and the trash can. The Mariners are a team that, man, I would love to. They're like the Clippers in the NBA. I would love to see the Mariners do something, be relevant on the scene. I mean, is Randy or Rosarina going to be their star hitter? I mean, what do you think?
They need some guys who are going to have some good seasons to put around Julio Rodriguez, who got no help at all, and he got dinged, and he had a substandard season for Julio Rodriguez standards of Major League Baseball. What do you think of the Halos?
They're like the little engine that could. You're kind of rooting for them to kind of grow up and be a big boy again. But there's some guys on this team that I think are going to be very interesting. Of course, local guy Kevin Newman. We want to see him play. Hope he has success. But what's the reliever's name that throws 103 again? Joyce,
college kid.
This is going to be fun to watch him out there just lighting up the scoreboard. If the Angels could just get over the hump and be over 500, I mean, I think the fan base would flock into the stadium in Anaheim.
That's a reach. You're telling me to go from 63 to 81 wins with that roster?
No, well, it's not. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying if it did happen, sure, Angel fans would embrace him big time.
Okay, all things. You're in Southern California, might be an Angel fan, might be a fan of the American League West. Your fans forum chat box is open. File in now so John can preview you and add you to the mix. This podcast is brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers. 9 locations to serve you as our baseball preview continues. John, we've covered everything on that street corner, the American League. Let's go to this street corner, National League.
The National League East, and we got the Phillies winning the war.
Philadelphia, loaded with arms, loaded with bats. I don't think the Phillies are a complete baseball team. If they had more spray hitters to complement all the guys who bomb, that would make them a complete team, but boy, they're good. His name is Wheeler. His name is Nola. His name is Suarez. His name, future, is Andrew Painter. That's a really good rotation that Philadelphia has. Philadelphia's improved their bullpen. And, of course, Philadelphia's got the bats. That's Bryce Harper, and that's Trey Turner, and that's JT Realmuto, and that's Schwarber, and that's Castellanos. This whole team is virtually back intact. And I will say this. Their starters rack up lots of starts, lots of innings, and none of them have broken down, which is kind of marvelous. I just got Philadelphia winning, but I tend to think this is the toughest division in baseball. Atlanta, Ronald Acuna is back. Spencer Strider is on the way quickly. Chris Sale coming off the Cy Young Award winning season. They were really chewed up by injuries, and all those guys who were hurt last year, led by Acuna, are back. Riley, Michael Harris, Ozzie Albies, Ozuna, and then the arrival of Jerickson Profar. This is a really good, complete baseball team. The only difference, I think, between Philly, which I picked to go first, and Atlanta, which I picked to go second, I don't know if Atlanta has the same quality of arms that Philadelphia has in the rotation. I got them. Third place, New York Mets. Juan Soto. How does he emotionally hold up to the pressure? The contract, the pressure. He is the bat with Alonso and with Lindor. And the fact they don't have pitching. That's a big issue in New York. And everybody might be excited that Soto signed with the Mets and all that. Well, now we'll start playing for real. And when their rotation looks as shabby as I think their rotation looks, I think they got all kinds of problems the New York Mets have. I'm just not sure where the innings are going to come from. And they start the season without Frankie Montas and Sean Manaea, and that's 2/5 of what was supposed to be a fixed rotation, and they're not there with significant injuries. I got Washington finishing 4th. Once upon a time, they gave us Bryce Harper and Juan Soto and Steven Strasburg, and you thought, oh, this is really going to be a franchise for years and years, and then free agency intervened, and they're all gone. They might be a year away, but they've got a collection of really good players, thanks to trades with the Padres, if you will. James Woods, C.J. Abrams. This year's vintage rookie is Dylan Cruz. Does Mackenzie Gore become a true innings guy? He's been a horse. He's made a lot of starts, but he's not been as dominant as they really want him to be. They do have some young arms they think are going to come help Gore in the rotation, but they don't have enough in what's really a tough division. I got Washington 4th, and then Miami. I got a misfit of an owner. I got a bad stadium situation. Got a marketplace that doesn't care. Sandy Alcantara is now finally back from the elbow surgery, but the rumor is they're going to try to trade him. Low payroll. They lost the number 2 starter, Ryan Weathers, already for 6 weeks with a forearm problem. That's a mess. So, John, at the end of the day, all those teams I talked about, that's a big boy division. That's a really tough-ass division. What do you think about the NL East?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's just a lot of money, a lot of firepower, a lot of frantic fan bases. The Phillies, I noticed, are moving Schwarber off of the leadoff role, which I thought was really weird when he only hit like 200. But granted, he hits bombs. They're moving him down. They're moving Trey Turner to the top of the lineup. Doesn't that make more sense?
Well, it does to me, because you got guys on base and you still got the bombers in the middle of the lineup. So, therefore, don't get an automatic out more times than not with Schwarber there. Schwarber does hit home runs out of leadoff spot. I concur with you wholeheartedly. But move him further back, get some other on-base guys. Suddenly, guys hit home runs instead of solo shots. They're 3-run shots.
Yeah.
Philadelphia is really dangerous. And in that bandbox of a ballpark, I mean, that roster is constructed to fit that ballpark. Okay, you're into the National League East. Feel free. Jump on board. Fans Forum chat box is open. We go from that to the division in the middle of the country.
The division in the middle of the country, and go Cubs go here. Wrigleyville wins.
Can anybody really win this division? Is this a really good division? I got the Cubs winning at Wrigleyville. The Kyle Tucker trade, I think, is a guy that's gone to a stadium where he's going to hit home runs. Now, he's in a contract year. I don't think the Cubs are going to let him walk. I think they'll find a way to get a deal done for him. Justin Turner signed to become a designated hitter. They got a third baseman they really like, and by the name of Matt Shaw. We'll see if he can hit. Shoto Imanaga, really good pitcher from Japan. He got no recognition whatsoever. Yeah, you go back and look at his ERA last season. It was in the low twos. He's a big strikeout guy. So Imanaga is the front of that rotation, along with Justin Steele, along with Jameson Talion. And they've got a whole mixed bag of young kids, obviously led by Matt Shaw. And the center fielder, Peter Armstrong Crow, is really good. And, of course, they have Dansby Swanson, and they have the ex-Dodger prospect, Michael Busch. I think they got a lot of stuff there. That's why I projected Chicago to be number 1. Number 2 is Milwaukee, but maybe that's with a question mark. They do have a healthy Christian Yelich. They do have Jackson Chourio, who came out of nowhere to be a star and a consistent star. They got William Contreras. They don't have Willie Adames at shortstop, and I think that's a big blow. Do they have enough pitching? They think maybe the arrival of the ex-Yankee Nestor Cortez, and they think the late signing of Jose Quintana will make a big difference in Milwaukee. I don't know that they have enough to hold up over 162 games. I got Cincinnati finishing 3rd. I mean, they got L.A. De La Cruz. They've got some young guys who fought through some really bad injuries last season. Their frontline pitching, if it stays healthy, and it did last year, was really competitive. Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo, Garrett Ashcraft. You add into that, they're giving the ball every 4th day to Nick Martinez, the ex-Padre, who's a bit of a warrior. The biggest offseason acquisition in Cincinnati was not a player. It's Terry Francona. I think that makes a huge difference in the leadership of Reds baseball. I got the Cardinals finishing. This is hard to believe. The Cardinals in 4th place out of the playoffs again. And that's a real significant issue. I feel bad for Nolan Arenado. No offseason trade did not get done. Now he's there. He kind of seems stuck there. What kind of pitching staff are they going to have? They got Arenado, bunch of kids in the outfield. When the ace of your staff is Sonny Gray, are you in trouble? You're in damn big trouble. I just don't understand why the Cardinals have allowed this thing to deteriorate where it was. They didn't draw $3 million last year in one of the best baseball markets in the history of the game. So I think St. Louis is just going to continue to drift. I think there's going to have to be a change in leadership there. Pittsburgh's got the brilliant young rookie right-hander Paul Skeens, and that's all they got. Ownership is under fire. Bob Nutting, the owner, is under enormous media fire. I mean, the columnists, the talk shows, TV anchors, just criticizing the hell out of the Pirates for having a $103 million payroll, getting all this revenue sharing. You got the hottest young pitcher that we've seen in Major League Baseball since Dwight Gooden, and you didn't do anything except rent some cheap guys at Dollar General, and that's supposed to be your Pittsburgh Pirate team around Paul Skeens. So I got the Cubs running away. The rest of the division is kind of iffy to me. And John Riley says,
it's like the AL East with the Red Sox. When the Cubs are good, that's great for baseball. Yep. And Cubs fans are friggin' everywhere across America. I'm kind of happy for Craig Counsell. I mean, he's got like a team that he can manage, and we could see some of his brilliance because things were just never really worked for him with the Brewers, did it?
No, not at all. That was a tight-fisted money operation. He got a long-term contract to go to Chicago, so now it's up to Jed Hoyer, the ex-Padre GM, to fulfill this, and Hoyer's made some acquisitions along the way. I think the Kyle Tucker trade is right guy, right type of stadium for him to hit him. Now, ownership's going to have to spend to retain him. And do you agree with me the best baseball acquisition in Cincinnati was Terry Francona?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, he has all that credibility, and he has that connection there in Ohio as well. But it is weird seeing the Cardinals. You always expect them to be a division winner or a wild card contender every year. And the last few years, it's not been that way.
Oh, it's been downhill, and I don't see it getting any better, at least at this point in time. John Mazziliak is going to step aside as president of baseball operations, but this thing has just been allowed in St. Louis to deteriorate. Okay, you're a follower of those teams in the Midwest. You got an opinion? Fans Forum chat box is open. We're talking wall-to-wall baseball today, our baseball preview. And now we come back home, and boy, do we have opinions.
Yeah, we do. And we're going to talk a little Dodgers, Padres, and all the rest of the National League West. And you're still going with this evil empire line.
Here we are. I mean, we had to dress this way because John sent out a memo. We are celebrating all things baseball. And I knew he was going to pull out the brown and gold. So I had to give equal treatment. I think the Federal Communications Commission calls it the Fairness Doctrine. So I had to go find this Dodger blue. Now, understand this. This is purely a personal note. I am celebrating the start of the baseball season because I grew up in a baseball family.
Yeah.
My dad pitched for the Philadelphia Athletics minor league organization. Uncle covered the old Brooklyn Dodgers. First game I ever saw was at Ebbets Field in 1957 with my dad sitting along the third base line. The Brooklyn Dodgers. Always loved the logo. Didn't love the team. Always loved the logo against the St. Louis Cardinals, which was his team because he grew up in the Gas House Gang era of the 1930s. So one of the coolest things, I still have the ticket stub from my first major league game. I still have the little scorecard that I kept from my first major league game that I saw at Ebbets Field. So I always celebrated opening day baseball because it meant so much to me because I was there with my dad for the first time ever. And a year ago, I went digging and did research, and I found the box score of the first game I saw, Brooklyn Dodgers, St. Louis Cardinals, in July of 1957. Larry Jackson of the Cardinals on the mound against the Brooklyn Dodgers. And that was the final year, Jackie Robinson, et cetera. So, I mean, that's what baseball means to me. Anyhow,
cool.
Evil Empire. No, they're not the Evil Empire. It's just a damn good organization with a big payroll and a lot of quality players. And I think a state-of-the-art special manager who makes things happen. It's team superstar. I'll throw this out, though. The Dodgers are the hunter, and the Dodgers are going to be hunted.
Oh, yeah.
The Dodgers are hunting for their second straight World Series championship ring, which has not been done in a long time. And there's no doubt the whole world is hunting down the Dodgers, the evil empire. And how good are they? They're still my pick. They have 11 pitchers on the disabled list effective today with their home opener up in Los Angeles. Now, if there was no Blake Snell acquisition, I would think maybe the Dodgers and Padres might be even Steven. But the fact there was a Blake Snell acquisition and the fact they went into the other market and got some other people, I just tend to think the Dodgers are far superior than most everybody. I got the Dodgers number 1. I got Arizona number 2. I will take some heat on this one. No problem. I will stand in there. If you want to throw a high, hard one and plunk me, dot me, bean me, that's okay. Arizona's good. Arizona's got a lot of bats. Arizona's really deep in the rotation. And that's the difference between Arizona and San Diego. Arizona brought in Corbin Burnes. That guy is a warrior. That guy was an ace in Milwaukee. That guy was the ace in Baltimore. They got Corbin Burnes. They got Zach Gallen. They got a really deep rotation. They added Josh Naylor. They've obviously still got Eduardo Rodriguez. They've got young guys in the outfield who can run and play defense, young guys in the outfield who hit and spray the ball. They got some power along the way. I just think it's a complete team. And I haven't even mentioned the do-everything guy, Ketel Marte. So at the end of the day, that's a really complete Arizona team. And they added Corbin Burnes to the front end of that rotation. You can never have enough good pitching, and that's a really good pitcher. I got Arizona second. I got the Padres finishing right behind them. But the issue with the Padres is depth. I love 1 through 5 in the Padre batting order. 6 through 9, holy cow, there's nothing significant there. Then you add into the question, do they have legitimacy in left field? Are they just going to throw away the bat and just let whoever is catching be the difference maker and catcher? And do you weather any more pitching injuries? Because there is no Darvish and there is no Musgrove at this point in time. And Waldron is ailing. The Dodgers front 3 is really good. But after that, 4 or 5, and whoever the insurance policy starters are, to me, that's huge question mark. It's really iffy. And they have no depth at all. They can talk about, oh, tough roster decisions at the end, blah, 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 blah. They have no proven pitching depth. If anything else happens to any other starters, they're in a world of hurt. You know, and the wild card is, well, you could always trade Cease or Michael King. But if you do that, I don't care what the haul is you're getting back. If you do that, you're getting rid of a lot of quality, veteran, credibility guys. John and I have gone back and forth about the fact the Padres had this short window to maybe be a World Series team. Chunk of that window closed last year when they failed in the playoffs against the Dodgers. And now, based on what the Dodgers did in the offseason, it gets even tougher, I think, for Padre baseball. Cannot afford any injuries in this journey, and this is a long journey, and they don't have any depth. I got the Padres finishing third. And I'm not downing and dumping on the Padres. I'm just giving you the facts, the figures, and the makeup of the roster. I got San Francisco fourth. They're just not there yet. New leadership led by Buster Posey, increased the payroll. Willie Adames, good acquisition. 1-year rental with Justin Verlander. So far, so good, but dude's got 200,000 miles on that body, but he did have a really good spring after physically breaking down last season. They must like their pitching led by Logan Webb with Verlander, because one of the young guys that I thought was going to be part of this rotation, Kyle Harrison, is not there. He was optioned to the minor leagues just yesterday. They got Duvall out of the bullpen. A little bit concerned. The rest of the rotation's got some physical health issues aside from Verlander. Can Robbie Ray be what Robbie Ray has been when healthy? And Jordan Hicks, good first half last season, then fatigued, and they had to take him out of the rotation. So at the end of the day, San Francisco, I don't know that they got enough, but it's kind of an interesting mix of guys they brought in from other places to go with Logan Webb and some of the young guys. Big setback. This young outfielder, Jung Ho Lee, they got from Japan, is hurt again. Injuries last year. Now he's got a back problem. He's starting the season on the DL. So I got San Francisco where San Francisco is. They're out of it. Colorado's got Chris Bryant, who's gotten through spring training totally healthy. He owes them. Again, he's had so many injury problems. We still don't know what Chris Bryant in the thin air in Denver would be like for a full season, because he's never played a full season. But if he could stay healthy, he'd make a difference. I will say this on behalf of Bud Black. They've got a lot of young kids that they've brought in that they firmly believe are going to be really good players, and they force-fed them last season. Their big issue, they got Tovar, and they got McMahon, and they got Toglia. Their big issue is, do they have enough pitching? Because they've had a lot of physical woes there. If Herman Marquez can be what he was before the forearm surgery, Kyle Freeland can stay healthy. Senzatella, who was always a grinder of a pitcher, he got hurt. Now he's back. He's had a good spring. And Austin Gomber, if they can get him off the disabled list within 10 days, they might have enough veteran pitching to plug their fingers in the dike. I do think their everyday players are going to be fun to watch. I just don't think they have enough players. Therefore, that's a regional franchise with a cheapskate owner. You're still in last place in Colorado, but at least they got a lot of good everyday guys in their lineup. Their question is, do they have enough arms? So, John, I've preached to the choir. Go ahead. Tell me I'm right. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me what you think about the National League West.
I'll tell you what I think. I
Shut up.
I think that story you kicked off this segment with is great. I mean, you're like Vince Scully. You're a bridge back to the Brooklyn Dodgers, the boys of summer. I mean, you were at Ebbets Field. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, that's awesome.
And the fact that, thank God for the internet, I was able to actually go do research and actually find the box score of the St. Louis Cardinal Brooklyn Dodger game that my dad took me to for the first time ever. It was absolutely amazing. And the only thing that I can remember was that Larry Jackson started and Vinegar Ben Mizell, everybody was big in nicknames.
Okay.
Big old left-hander out of Arkansas. He pitched in that game. So I scrolled through that 1957 season, and I looked and looked, and I found Dodgers Cardinals box score. So I went right through that 3-game series. I went to I think it was the second game of the series, punched up the box score, and there it was. Larry Jackson started against Don Newcomb. Vinegar Ben Mizell relieved him in the 4th or 5th inning. And there was Stan Musial on the box score. And there was Jackie Robinson. It was so cool. It's like I died and went to heaven. So that's why I'm wearing this, because that's where I saw my first baseball game. And I always loved the logo if I didn't really love the team. But because you're dressed the way you dressed, I had to dress the alternative way.
Well, it's just the way you're describing that. I just feel like we're on the set at Field of Dreams or something.
Flashback.
Talking about all the old time baseball and being there, kind of a flash to the past. Yeah, the Dodgers. You can't. They got everything, So of course they're going to be at the top of the division. The question is how many games are they going to lose? It might end up being single digits. Now I want to talk about this Corbin Burnes guy because we knew about him with Milwaukee. I mean, he was there with Brandon Woodruff, who's another good pitcher.
Innings horse.
Yeah, definitely. And
strikeout guy too.
Yeah, for Corbin Burnes.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is the thing is that he was in Baltimore last year. I know he had a great year, but I've never really focused on him. It's like when the Padres play the Diamondbacks, I think Zach Gallen is a terrific pitcher. He reminds me of Greg Maddux in a lot of ways. I kind of want to see Burnes and Maddux side by side and kind of figure who's the better of the two.
You mean Burnes and Gallen, and then you add into that.
Excuse me. Yes.
Yeah, and then you add into that Merrill Kelly is the third guy, and then they got Eduardo Rodriguez, who had pitched pretty well for Detroit, then got hurt. He's back totally healthy. They're like 5 deep in the rotation right now. A little nicked up in the bullpen, but I think they're a really, really good baseball team.
Oh, yeah. And they added Josh Naylor. I mean, so he's a hell of a hitter.
Yep.
So there's a lot of interesting things. Again, like the Diamondbacks were real stealth during the free agent period. They acquired all these guys, but it was sort of out of the spotlight.
Yeah. But the minute they got Burnes, they said, I was surprised Burnes went there, but he went there because that was where the payday was. But boy, you put him at the front of the rotation. Good. Now, are you agreeing or disagreeing with me that the Padres 1 through 5 in the lineup is really great? I like their big 3 in the rotation, obviously deep in the bullpen. But that being said, they have any problems, then they're going to have problems. Do you buy that or not?
I mean, that's the logical take here. I mean, because you look at the guys batting 6th. You got Cronenworth is in that mix 6 through 9, but he needs to step it up. But all these other guys, I mean, it's like this whirlpool cycle of dudes that have been utility men or DHs and all these other teams. Brandon Lockridge, Gavin Sheets, Jose Iglesias, who else is there? Yuri Gurriel, Diaz, Martin Maldonado. I mean, you got to hope one of those guys has like a resurrection season, maybe 2 of them. Jason Hayward's got to hit at least 250 for us. But there's a lot to ask to get all your ducks in a row for this Padre team to kind of fire on all cylinders.
Part of me says, the left hand says, all these guys that they brought in, these short-term rentals, they've had chunks of time, John, where they played very well. So if you brought in 5 or 6 of these guys, and 1 or 2 of these guys have a Jurickson Profar type season, you're right there.
Oh, yeah.
But if none of them do anything and they hit to where they've hit in recent years, which is why they're on the street, holy cow, then you got a problem. And the flip side of that, you haven't any more injuries to the front of your rotation, I think your elevator's going down. But I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just giving you the facts as we sit here. Padre, go ahead.
I say you're such a hater, banging on. I mean, wearing the Dodger jersey as well, so it's just funny. But yeah, it's we kind of didn't suspect Arizona was going to be this good. But what's the one thing I learned today is did you know that Perry Manassian, GM for the Angels, his brother is the GM for the Giants working for Buster Posey?
Yes.
I didn't know that. I mean, that was interesting to me.
So all kinds of things here. Padre fan, Dodger fan, last I checked, fans forum chat box is open for you. There are no excuses. If you're a baseball fan, you can critique. Fashion critics are allowed to debate him versus me. Why we're wearing it, I gave you my explanation why I'm wearing this. But at the end of the day, feel free to jump on board into the chat box opening day of the baseball season. That is our baseball preview. We still got more to come. We're at halftime. This podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers, 9 locations to serve you in San Diego. These people are phenomenal. These people are the marquee people in the home building industry. If you drive through any construction project anywhere in San Diego, odds are all that lumber for all those homes, and there's a lot of building developments because we are San Diego, that comes vis-a-vis DIXIELINE Lumber. But DIXIELINE Lumber is more than just dealing with contractors and builders. It's dealing with him, dealing with me, dealing with dumbass talk show hosts who are colorblind, and they're dealing with a homeowner who like to do their own projects. John, just describe that end of the Dixieline business.
Yeah, because sometimes the homeowners, they kind of know kind of what they want their kitchen to be like, but they don't want to hire a contractor yet. They're kind of confused. Just go to Dixieline, talk to one of their design consultants for kitchen and bath. Go to the showroom at Solana Beach, the design studio. You'll see all the top of the line product there. But what they'll do is they'll walk you through this. They'll help you plan out the cabinets and the countertops for your kitchen, for your bathroom. They'll show you all the latest in window designs, doors, you name it. They've got it all there for Dixieline Lumber, and they make it easy, for homeowners to do business, as well as giving you the heavy duty stuff for the contractor.
Just want to find out more about them. You might not need them now. Maybe sometime this spring, into the summer, into the fall. You got projects. Just go to DixieLine.com and just see all the things they have at Dixieline Lumber. Okay, we're halfway through our baseball preview on our Thursday podcast, heading towards this great sports weekend. We do have other topics on the table. John, when we're done, we're going to ask everybody to pile into Fans Forum. We got space today because it is opening day of baseball. If you're watching us on live stream, jump on board with a question or answer. But how does Fans Forum work?
Well, first of all, the people in Fans Forum are loving the Dodger blue on you. They're going crazy. Okay, so yeah, if you got a comment or question in the world of sports for Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, drop your take in the live chat, Facebook, X, or YouTube. We'll get you involved in Fans Forum.
Just want to remind you, if you like sports, please check my website. I write on it every day, LeeHacksawHamilton.com. It's there for you, all tons of information. Join Hacksaw's Insiders Group. You can register to get on the email list. Just fill out the big orange box right on the homepage of my website. You like social media, want you to follow me, just type in Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, hit the follow button. Also want you to be involved, share, subscribe, tell everybody what we do Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30. Subscribe on the YouTube channel. When you do that, you will get the automatic alert every time we put new things up, and we put a lot of stuff up on that YouTube channel during the course of the week. Give us a thumbs up. That helps us a great deal. The way we're dressed today, give us a 5-star rating because we're celebrating the opening of the baseball season. That would help us a lot. John, we're just going to buzz through some other topics on the table. Go ahead.
Yeah, you're sped up today. I like it. We got to get back and watch the ball game. Okay, yeah, let's talk a bit of NFL SportsWire. You got the University of Miami in the NFL segment?
Yeah, let's just talk about hot headlines around pro football. The draft is 1 month out. Cam Ward appears to be the guy. The Miami Hurricanes quarterback, Cam Ward, held a private workout with the New York Giants and then the Cleveland Browns on back-to-back days. The entire Browns front office was in Miami at Coral Gables for his one-on-one workout. I was told it was really, really impressive. It is interesting, though, just to see what is going to happen at the top of the draft board. The New York Giants, who worked him out privately on Tuesday, the Browns worked him out on Wednesday. The Giants already have 2 quarterbacks. I guess I'm a little bit stunned if the Giants were so much considering Cam Ward with their pick. Why would you go out and commit the amount of money you did first to Jameis Winston, and then you turned around and did at the end of last week to Russell Wilson? That's really surprising to me. The third one, and this is the linchpin, John, in the entire first round of the draft, Tennessee Titans have the number 1 pick. Tennessee burned a high draft pick on quarterback Will Levis, had a great rookie season and really substandard second year. The big question, Tennessee at number 1 needs help in lots of different places. They have worked out Cam Ward, but they are dropping hints that they might be willing to entertain a trade to drop back a couple slots. So if Cleveland at number 2 wants to be guaranteed to get Cam Ward, Tennessee would go from 1 to 2, get more put into the pot. Or if it's the Giants that want to jump to the number 1 spot, they'd be willing to go from 1 down to 3 to get the Giants slot. And obviously they get some additional stuff there. So this quarterback derby is underway. It's Cam Ward. And now the question, where is he going to go to work out? And Tennessee, to me, is the linchpin because Tennessee really likes the defensive end from Penn State, Abdul Carter, and they like Travis Hunter, the cornerback from Colorado. So that's at the top of the draft board. New England, real surprise. Now, I think they have had the best offseason of anybody because Mike Vrabel's gone out and he signed 8 veteran free agents, 5 defensive starters the first hours of free agency, and he's added to that list every day. Now he just went out and got somebody in the offense. They just signed Stephon Diggs. Longtime big play wide receiver, was of the Houston Texans. Diggs, of course, got hurt at the end of last season. He comes in as a wide receiver to complement the quarterback, Drake May, who was phenomenal. Now, because he agreed to come on a 3-year contract in New England, that means the Patriots can go ahead and use that high number 1 pick on what they really desperately need. Can you say Austin Genty, Boise State? Or can you say Will Campbell, huge tackle? Or Mondu, the other huge tackle? Campbell out of LSU, Mondu from Missouri. So suddenly, I think New England's in position to really come roaring back because they got the quarterback. Now they got the wide receiver. They could get a running back or they get a stud tackle, and they fixed the whole bloody defense. So I'm just fascinated to see what New England has done. And the last one is Denver. Get this. Now, Denver's been really active under Sean Payton. Denver's turned around, signed Evan Ingram, tight end, to catch a bunch of balls from Bo Nix. Denver's looking for a running back. Denver's talking to Chargers leading running back hyphen wide receiver, because their backs do catch a lot of balls, J.K. Dobbins. Dobbins would be a good acquisition to go with everything else that Sean Payton is working on at this point in time. So that's what's going on in the football notebook. Like I say, Tennessee is really the fulcrum for what's going to happen in the first round of the draft. And I will also tell you that people this time of the year, this month of the year, freaking lie out their teeth about what their interest is and what might happen. And I'm just reporting to you all the rumors out there. And John Riley says,
well, yeah, let's talk about the Titans. Now, is Will Levis toast? I mean, does he have a future? What's your take on him?
Got 1 year left to prove it. But the fact that Tennessee didn't do anything in free agency, and they talked to Russell Wilson. They actually met with Russell Wilson for a whole day. And I thought, well, when he showed up in Nashville, maybe they're going to rent him and let him come in and compete with Will Levis. Tennessee's shown no inkling at all towards Aaron Rodgers. But when Russell Wilson was allowed to go to the New York Giants, I thought, well, maybe Tennessee's just going to take the quarterback. Or maybe Tennessee's going to stay with Levis, trade out a number 1, stockpile stuff, and then go get other people to put around the rest of that roster. So I don't know what's fact or fiction. I don't know where the lies are. If I'm Tennessee, if you don't think that Cam Ward can change your franchise, then you take that number 1 and drop out, and you get somebody's 1 and 2, or you get somebody's 1, 3, and 5. You find a way to stockpile additional assets, and it wouldn't be dropping that far down the board, and would still allow them to get a stud player.
Yeah, and that's the right move for them. I mean, they drafted Levis a couple of years ago, so you need to give him more time. I mean, if you drafted a quarterback, that's basically saying, you're a lame duck quarterback here for us. But the other comments, just quick ones, on the Patriots, they definitely need to draft offensive linemen to protect Drake. But it is interesting to see Stephon Diggs there. But my vision in my head is I remember that playoff game when Stephon Diggs was yelling at Josh Allen, they throw me the ball. I'm not getting the ball.
Yeah, he's a little bit of a diva. No, he's a lot of diva. But they gave him a 3-year contract. I will say this, though. It's Mike Vrabel's team. And Mike Vrabel's culture is, I am the leader, and this is the game plan, and we're going to do this, and we're not going to vary from anything that we're doing. This is who we are. It's Vrabel's team. I don't think there's going to be crap in that locker room, in that clubhouse, etc. So, and Diggs got a 3-year contract. So I think New England's flipped this thing pretty quickly, and here comes a draft, and they do have high draft picks. They got a lot of draft picks. It'll be fun to see what else Vrabel does to put in place.
Yeah, you're right. The draft is coming up real quick here, but Cam Ward's shooting up, but Shadur Sanders is dropping like a rock, right?
Well, he's slipping. I wouldn't say he's dropping like a rock. I think he's gone from what many people thought would be draft pick 1, draft pick 2. Maybe he's at 5. Maybe he is at 6. He's got a pro day coming up, I think, in about a week in Boulder. But look at the film. Look at all the things that kid accomplished. I mean, I still think this is a good quarterback. There's 2 glitches. One is the personality glitch that he seems to be entitled, and he kind of turned a bunch of people off at the combine. The second thing is he doesn't have a cannon for an arm. But if he's still a great, gifted, intellectual quarterback that can move the pocket, run, and make plays, you can live with that. So I don't think that Cam Ward, I think, is going to be the number one pick and the number one quarterback. I don't think Shedeur goes beyond 5 or 6 or 7 in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the Raiders drafting 6.
Yep.
That just seems like a match made in heaven. I would love for Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter to both have huge success. I mean, that would be 2 feathers in the cap for Coach Prime. I mean, we'd have the entourage going to all these NFL games. It'd be fantastic.
So that's all things NFL. You got an opinion? Fans Forum chat box is open. Today, your opportunity for a football fan who's not been able to get through, dive in here, ask a question, give us an opinion. Last set of topics on the table before we get to the Fans Forum, John. Let's talk hoops.
Hoops. Yeah, you got San Diego State. I'm kind of curious what you have to say here.
I'm really disturbed. I'm really bothered. I'm really pissed off the NCAA has allowed this to happen. March Madness is fabulous. There's no doubt about that. And the Cinderella stories are spectacular. But what have happened, the NIL, the transfer portal, I just think it's ruined the game. It's taken the joy out of the game. I don't think I'd want to be a head coach anywhere in college basketball with a crisis you have to deal with, the chaos you have to deal with, the dishonesty, the tampering you have to deal with almost on an hour-by-hour, day-by-day basis. Do you know the transfer portal opened on Monday? John, in 3 days, we've had 1,305 players leave their teams, put their name in the transfer portal.
Yeah.
1,305. It's utterly ridiculous. It started San Diego State. I was really disappointed in Nick Boyd, how he handled and not handled this thing. I talked about it earlier in the week. He disagreed with me. But I said, just scratch the word loyalty out of Nick Boyd's resume because he was here and he praised the place, Aztec for life, and then he was gone. And it was obvious to me he was negotiating with somebody while they were preparing for the NCAA tournament. Magoon Guath is a little bit different set of storylines. That's young developmental player who became, to a degree, a star. He had always indicated that I'd like to stay here, or maybe I'll look at the NBA. And Magoon Guath then decides that he's opting out and there's going to be a payday real quick for him. But he comes from a different set of circumstances. Young kid, Sudan, dirt poor family in Houston. Kids traveled a rocky road to get to this point. So I don't begrudge him this window, but I feel bad for Brian Dutcher, who poured all of his resources and his energy to help this young man mature. Dutcher has just gotten a bad deal. It's part of the system. And now the third one. Miles Byrd has indicated he's filing for the NBA draft to go through the evaluation process. No beef with that as long as he comes back. He's not ready for the NBA. I'm not even sure he's ready for big-time ACC, Big Ten basketball. Let him get the evaluation. Let him come back. But if they lose all 3, this is devastating. I don't know how it's almost like you're going back to square one. So I feel really bad for Dutcher. But it's not just here. It's freaking everywhere. Mountain West Conference has just had a bad week. Richard Pitino leaves New Mexico. Pitino takes the coaching job at Xavier. Xavier is a better situation. Xavier is in the same conference with St. John's, where Rick Pitino is head coach. How cool a storyline is that when the St. John's Red Flash are going to face the Xavier Musketeers? But Richard Pitino did a hell of a job. And I say congratulations, Nick Medved. I mean, he put together 3 phenomenal years at Colorado State. He takes the Big Ten job at the University of Minnesota. But the problem is that a whole pile of players have jumped into the portal. And that's a real bad look. Of the top 7 players who could return, 5 are already in the portal and are leaving, led by Donovan Dent from New Mexico, Wyoming star guard. It's just a tough loss for this conference. So we got that storyline to talk about. Pac-12 conference, story behind the story. We were all excited about them snaring Gonzaga. Basketball only. Well, I did some digging. Gonzaga is going to get a full share of whatever the new TV contract is in the media package for the new Pac-12. A full share, even though they don't play football.
Wow.
Now, as a byproduct of that, Gonzaga also got a clause. They don't have to pay any shares that other schools pay into the football pool. Each school has to pay certain expenses for the conference in a football pool. Gonzaga is excluded from that. So that's 2 pluses for the Zags. However, Gonzaga had to give up any revenue that football creates in a conference. Bowl games, everybody gets a slice of the pie if a Pac-12 team goes to a bowl game. If anybody in the new Pac-12 gets to go to the playoffs, there's a huge chunk of money in that piece of that pie. Gonzaga won't get any football-related revenue. So that was the give and the take of Gonzaga. We're still waiting to see what transpires with St. Mary's. I guess the burning question, although they like the Gales and they like the Bay Area representation and Randy Bennett, have they ever done anything big time? Have you seen them in the Final Four? No. Have you seen them in a Sweet 16? Nah. So that's a big issue. Do we really want them? And the Pac-12 is wrestling with the problems at UNLV, or financial problems. There's leadership problems at Nevada, Las Vegas. New president coming in the front door, constant churn, changes of ADs, losing coaches, retaining people. So Vegas, being in Vegas sounds sexy, but Vegas from a business operation problem, that is still out there. Wild story in the Pac-12. You know, they have to find another football playing school. One day they're talking St. Mary's coming to basketball. Next day they're talking maybe we should ask for a waiver from the NCAA that we don't add another football program immediately. Third day they're talking about who to pair. Now the conversation is, money talks, people walk. Now the conversation is, maybe we just turn around and we take Rice, which has money and academic credentials, and Southwest Texas State, which has money. And those schools, I was told, would take a less than full share of whatever the new TV contract is. Maybe we just add those, and then we're in the Texas market. Although I'm sorry, Dallas-Fort Worth, I don't think watches Rice football. They watch Texas Longhorn and the Texas A&M Aggies and maybe the University of Houston. I don't think Rice is a big draw, but that's what they're talking because of the problems at Vegas. They're talking we just do Rice and Southwest Texas State because they do bring some different things to the equation, and they put us in the state of Texas. Stanford, we talked about this on Monday. They fired the coach. Andrew Luck, the legendary quarterback, former star in the NFL, is the general manager of the football program. It's, in essence, he's almost running the athletic department. He fired Troy Taylor this week. Taylor is involved in 2 separate sexual harassment, toxic workplace investigations, mistreatment of 7 to 9 women in the athletic department and in the football program. Troy Taylor, 3-9, 3-9, gone. Andrew Luck hit the eject button right now. Be very interesting to see who he can get coming in the front door. You know, they don't have a great tradition in football more recently. And I think the other thing that's really bothersome, I don't know from a resources standpoint, if they have enough to compete upper echelon in terms of NIL money, et cetera. So Andrew Luck but he's the decision maker at Stanford. And here's the epitome of what's happened in college hoops. I talked about what I don't like about what this thing has become in terms of business. St. Francis of Pennsylvania, Catholic school, been to the NCAA tournament, was in the play-in game last Thursday, folded. Dropped out of Division I. It's just announced because they can't compete. The landscape's changed so much they can't compete financially. St. Francis is dropping all of its sports effective at the end of the spring term to Division III. Sad commentary about what it's become. I'm done preaching. John, you want to pick some topics off you asked the question. This is on you. You put all these topics on the table.
Yeah, hanging around with you, there's always a lot of topics. Okay, first of all, you are so overreacting to this whole NIL thing. Okay, first of all, yeah, it's disruptive. Of course it's disruptive. You said, what, 1,500 kids are in the portal?
1,305 so far.
Yeah, so a lot of those players are guys that were on the end of the bench that weren't getting playing time. They want to go somewhere else. A lot of them aren't going to go to D1 schools. They're going to go down, play at a lower level, or they might even just drop out of basketball entirely. So it's not as big of a crisis. Now, granted, as a fan, it's horribly disruptive.
You don't think it's disruptive to a coach?
Well, them too. But I mean, this is just life. You know, people have the option of quitting a job and getting hired somewhere else. The upside for the player is so tremendous to have, whether you're going for the big money, like Donovan Dent's going to likely get, or Magoon Gwath might get in the portal, or, if you just want to move on to another opportunity. These are huge advantages for the player to kind of cash in on what their value is. And for us as fans, yeah, we're disruptive and we're going to lose the players. I think we just need to adapt. The pendulum needs to swing back a little bit to put a little bit of guardrails on it, and we'll be fine.
So you won't have a problem if, after all the defections at San Diego State, what would your tone be next year if Brian Dutcher gets put down because the Aztecs win only 12 games last year because they've lost all their players to the paydays? So these guys, because of player free agency, can go anywhere and everywhere, and now he doesn't have the resources to compete. So what's the atmosphere going to be at Viejas? You're going to be sitting in the end zone seats, painting your face black and red, and half the place might be empty if they wind up going 12-19?
You're Mr. Doom and Gloom again. Okay,
I'm just dealing with reality.
No, I mean, obviously everyone's being affected by this. And Dutcher is a magnet. He will attract players that want to play for a big-time coach, that know they can be coached up. Maybe they're a player that's excellent offensively and really needs good defensive coaching. Dutcher will still get good players. Okay, now, will he be able to compete with an NIL budget like that Duke University has or something? No. I mean, that's like a whole other thing. But they just got to, like, for example, this transfer portal during the Sweet 16 weekend, that's just stupid.
Same thing in football. Let's open up the transfer portal during the bowl games or during the actual 12-team playoff. Where's the common sense in that? Where's the leadership? I mean, the NCAA's hand has been forced to do this because of all the player lawsuits, player free agency.
Yeah.
That does not mean you can't have a transfer portal that does not open the window till after the championship game is played. Why are they allowing players whose teams are in the NCAA? One of Michigan's players entered the portal while his team is preparing to play in the Sweet 16. Why is a calendar of events in the middle of March Madness? That's beyond stupidity.
Yeah, it is. I mean, so there's a lot of disruption. They've got to kind of figure this out. But the end point is that players now have more options. Players don't have to sit a year to play. Players are not getting what they think the respect from the coach. They want more minutes. They have options to go elsewhere. And best of all, they're going to make some money. And I think that with all the money that's flowing into this sport, they deserve a share.
Mr. Capitalist has spoken. You want to comment anything else, or have you just thrown everything else in the garbage can because you believe what you believe?
Well, I do believe that, and I'll tell you what, the Stanford thing is interesting because you're right. They haven't been really relevant in basketball like forever, but I remember they had the two brothers, the twin brothers.
Yeah.
That were there. They were terrific. But
well, football's been down, even though David Shaw did a really good job for a chunk of years.
Yeah, football's had other moments there at Stanford, but you're right there in Silicon Valley, and there are a lot of the guys that are just loaded at Silicon Valley are graduates of Stanford University. So you think there'd be a way that they could fund the program, get some good donorship going, and it'd be great to have them back. Like in the Pac-12, the Bay Area. This Stanford is an important part of the Bay Area.
I concur with you. And I think Andrew Luck will find a flock of really good people who will be candidates to replace Troy Taylor. Why Troy Taylor would act the way Troy Taylor acted is beyond me in this era of what you're supposed to do in terms of respect. That's a huge issue. And for him to do this, I mean, I read a piece of the litigation that indicated the people that testified against Troy Taylor, because they went to human resources and got nothing accomplished. It's like Stanford covered it up, walked away, didn't react. And one of the women called him an equal opportunity asshole. And his mistreatment for 2 full years as head coach.
EOA.
Yeah. So anyhow, Andrew Luck is a magnet. I think it'll be, I'm intrigued to see.
Well, he waited too long to respond to this. And I know there's been a reaction in the Bay Area of people that are upset that they didn't take quick action. So it must be that Luck has a relationship with him or something.
Well, I mean, Luck has only been on the job maybe 3 months. And I do think that any course of that type of investigation, you must give opportunity for the other person to respond. You just can't hit the eject button and fire everybody unless you go through, I think it's called due process.
Okay. Well, we got Doge going on, man. Anyone can get fired at any time.
You promised me you wouldn't bring up politics on this podcast.
Okay.
Okay. All things. Hey, That's what we've been talking about today. You're invited to be part of this podcast. We're going a lot of different directions. Podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers, 9 locations to serve you. Build it, fix it. We guarantee you will like it at DIXIELINE.com. And don't forget, just check their website for all the unique and different things that they offer to you. John, Fans Forum chat box is open. Opening day of baseball. We're talking that. We're talking basketball, March Madness. You pick the topic out there. You're the fan. See what you've got to say. Fans Forum, go ahead.
Okay, let's start here with Carlos. And he says, hey, Lee, what's your prediction for total Dodger wins this season?
I asked the question, can they win 110? Now, everything has to fall in place. There have to be no major injuries. I think if they don't have anything catastrophic happen, they could be 110-52. Now, that being said, Mookie Betts has battled this, what's called norovirus, and this has not completely gone away, so there's a fatigue factor with him. Freddie Freeman had the rib cartilage issue flare again that he had problems with last year. Now, that being said, they do have an awful lot of talent. They got a lot of multiple players, but if those guys are out of the lineup for any chunk of time, then it's not quite the same lineup, but it's a really good team. In my heart, my head says 110-52 be phenomenal. I tend more to think 105 might be the peak, but that's still a phenomenal season. What do you project?
It's just anything over 100 is a lot.
Yes.
And a lot of times we see World Series winners, that have like maybe 89 wins or so. The record's 116. I think that's the question. Will they beat that record? No, but there are some people that think the Dodgers can do no wrong. They're going to, maybe they'll stub their toe once or twice. They'll finish 160-2, So I don't know, 105, 110. It sounds, that's a lot, but it sounds like that might be conservative.
Okay. I'll go for the 105 mark, although my heart said, man, wouldn't it be cool if they won 110? But that might be a bit of a reach because it is a grind of a season. Go ahead, John, next one.
Okay, I'm going to do these. This is a two-parter. We'll start off here with Arnie. Love that Dodgers hoodie saw. And then David says, hey, nice sweatshirts, gentlemen. You should have done the show from Petco Park.
Well, you can't do it in public because there's so much noise and there's so many things from a computer technical standpoint. It's really tough to take this thing out of the studios that DIXIELINE Lumber built for us. It's just really, really hard. But we're doing the best we can. And yeah, I think we look pretty good. And again, this is all John's fault because John sent a memo. It says, we're doing your baseball preview. We have to dress accordingly. And I knew Dude was going to wear Padre brown and gold. So I had to go get the other hoodie in the closet. And it just happened to be the Dodger logo. But that's because of where I came from and what I experienced the first time as a very young baseball fan that I'm wearing these colors.
Yeah, you're legit, man. You were Long Island.
Legit.
Yeah, and it's weird again how you're a Cleveland Indian fan when you're living on Long Island. What was that about?
Hell if I know. I hated the Yankees. I didn't like the Dodgers or the New York Giants. This goes back, and came from a baseball family, and I got hooked on the Cleveland Indians. I like Chief Wahoo. That was the cool part.
But that's not a very politically correct symbol anymore.
1957, it hell was. They won 111 games when I was a kid in one season with Herb Score and Rocky Colavito. And any of those of you who are transplanted from Cleveland, you'd identify with opening day.
Oh, 1954, the Giants beat them, didn't they?
That's right. And the Indians won 111 games that season, got swept 4 straight. That was the Willie Mays catch that broke the Indians' heart and back.
Oh, that one where he goes all the way to deep center and the Polo Grounds.
Yes, sir. 4-game sweep.
Yeah.
And the Indians in that era when I was growing up, they were always in second place to the Yankees, Bronx Bombers, Mantle, Maris, that whole 9 yards. But I was not a Yankee fan. I was a Cleveland Indians fan.
So when the movie Major League came out and it was about the Indians, you must have loved that.
Yeah, it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
It was. And I was there during the bad times when I could perceive, that kind of stuff was going to happen because the Indians became small market, small ownership, small budget, et cetera.
Okay, let's keep going on. And let's go here to BDG. He says, golden age for the USA and Los Dodgers baseball.
Dodger baseball is having a good run. They've had, 11 division titles in 12 years. You cannot argue with their methodology of doing business. You may bitch a little bit about free agency and all that, but Dodgers have done a really, really great job. And I think historically, you just have to look at their farm system and what they draft. They don't make mistakes. and they just stockpile pitcher after pitcher after pitcher, and they're all from the same build. If you look at every Dodger pitcher that comes out of their farm system, those guys are tall, and those guys have tree trunks and legs. I mean, it's phenomenal what they've done. Now, they've got a lot of injuries. Dodgers opening day at home, they got 11 pitchers on the disabled list right now after last year's catastrophe, but they're so deep. So that's a pretty good team, pretty good organization.
I mean, imagine if you were one of those hot prospective pitchers for the Dodgers. They got all those guys, like Stone and what was it, guys like River Ryan,
yes,
that are in the waiting wings. But that depth chart is so deep, they may never get a shot. And so it makes you wonder, would they rather be in a different organization, like the Cleveland Guardians, and maybe they might be on the opening day roster, but they're like at the back of the bus when it comes to the Dodgers.
But most of those guys got drafted, pitched well, got hurt. All those guys you mentioned, you didn't mention Emmett Sheehan.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's like 5.
Dustin May, although he's on the major league squad.
Yeah. There's at least 5 more of those hot young prospects that are on the DL that are recovering from elbow and shoulder surgery. Michael Grove is another one, et cetera. So those guys are all going to probably sit most of this year and won't be part of this thing, but they were drafted and they're going to get their opportunity.
Wow. They just have all this talent like stacked up in AA and AAA.
You remember the day that we did a full screen, expanded screen for all the viewers. We posted all 23 pitchers in the Dodger Major League roster and the AAA who had pitched for this club and had success. 23 guys in one organization. Now, a whole pile of them are coming back from surgeries and are not going to pitch this year, but 23, that's phenomenal.
Yeah, and then you got Shohei Ohtani, man, who could win a Cy Young. He's just kind of hanging around, waiting for an opportunity.
And Kershaw's coming June 1st.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is just nuts. The whole thing is nuts.
On we go. Thanks for the input.
Okay, let's go here to Flegel. He goes, I'll bet against the third place Yankees. I think they'll wrap a new team around the Judge.
Well, they can't. The ownership has told Brian Cashman, you're not importing any big contract. They knew Garrett Cole's, he's been gone a month. That's when the news came, end of season Tommy John surgery. They have not been able to make a deal to get pitching because Steinbrenner won't allow him to take on more contracts. Their salary cap, their payroll is at $304 million right now total. So, I mean, they're over luxury tax already. So this is what they have. And I don't know, over 162 games, down as many pitchers as they are, and without having another big bat, Stanton is not there. They don't even know if he's going to play this year. He might be facing double elbow surgery. They need help for Judge, and I don't see where they're going to go get the pitching unless they trade away the entire farm system, and that might be the only alternative. But then you're trading away a chunk of tomorrow to try to be competitive today. So obviously, Flegel does not buy my theory. The Yankees are dead, and the Yankees are going to finish in third place.
It seems like the thing with both New York teams, it's not whether or not they're going to win at all, because both fan bases know there are serious problems. I think the question is who's the better of those two, the Mets or the Yankees? I mean, what do you think?
That's a good question. I mean, I see Yankee baseball as Judge against the world. I see Met baseball as Soto, Alonso, Lindor. But I don't think either one of them has enough pitching.
Yeah. Well, Rodon is back for the Yankees. So I'm curious to see how he's going to be, because he was hurt, I think, was it last year?
2 years ago with the White Sox, he fell apart physically.
But I thought he had some damage with the Yankees, no?
No, he pitched pretty well for the most of last season.
Okay, I'm confusing him with someone else then.
Just like that? Yes, you do act confused sometimes. Thank you. Okay, we move on.
Okay, and this is from Gary. And he goes, hey, nice ovation for Profar. Proud of the fans, and Trevor coming out to throw the first pitch was chills.
Padres put on a cool show. It really is. And it was great. Standing ovation for Profar. They would not let him get his ass in the box as the leadoff hitter. And then he finally got in, and he had a leadoff single. So Profar being Profar. But it was really nice, and I saw some of the video early on during pregame warmups, and the players came over and hugged him, etc. So, I mean, it was a phenomenal season. Nobody, a year ago today, opening day, nobody could have ever expected that. That was a 246 career hitter who strung together something really special. So he got the payday. I mean, he's making a hell of a lot more money in Atlanta than he made here, and he's gone to a really good team. But I enjoyed seeing Profar, and I never got the chance to talk to him because I wasn't in the clubhouse much last year. But I mean, I'll close my eyes and I'll just think about Profar jumping up and down in left field, antagonizing Dodger fans. And then you think about Profar's diving catches. I mean, how many runs did he save? He did a really, really good job. So end of the day, he earned this payday and he's gone to a really good team. That's a really good Braves team.
Yeah. Everything about that, what you just said, is great. The standing ovation at Petco Park, the love the fans have for Profar, the jumping up and down, all of that is just wonderful. So, I kind of agree here with what Gary said, was chills, because I love the pageantry of opening day, and I love it when they announce and everyone gets to run out there, and even like the assistant to the equipment manager is out there on the line, and the massage therapists and these other team doctors and fitness consultants, and then you eventually work your way to the coaching staff, and then it's the non-starters, and then eventually it's Schilt, and he brings out his guys, and they all run out to cheers. I think it's great.
Yeah, it's cool. And the electricity at Petco Park to me has now become so different than virtually every other ballpark. There's just an energy at Petco Park. I've told you this before. As a longtime voice of the Chargers, I mean, that's where I made my name in the NFL. But there's an electricity come playoff time in an NFL stadium you just can't experience anywhere else. That electricity has been transferred to Petco Park. It is just electric to be in that yard now that's sold out and to see everything going on around it. By the way, speaking of opening day and people lining in the first and third base lines, the introductions. Mm-hmm. What if we open against the Dodgers? What did you think that would be like on opening day?
Oh my God. There'd be fists flying, man, out on the concourse. I mean, it'd be something. But hopefully we'll see that in the playoffs. Wouldn't that be great? And if you had to write up the script for Hollywood, you would hope they would meet in the NLCS, not the NLDS.
By the way, did you enjoy my column on the Padres and receipts? My one man's opinion column on my website. Yeah. Hey, if you haven't read that, you need to go to LeeHacksawHamilton.com. Just scroll back to yesterday, because I posted a different column today. Today's column was about opening day flashbacks and what it means to me, which is a kind of a historical thing. If you're an old-time baseball fan, you like that. But go back one day in the archive and get yesterday's column. I think the headline was, Padres, you owe us.
You owe us, exactly.
And at the end of the line, it said, I have these receipts you owe me from what happened at the end of last season, 24 straight scoreless innings.
Brutal. I mean,
look, I thought the column was great.
Well, it is good. It was an excellent take. I enjoyed it. But it just, isn't it weird again? So as fans, we're just so emotionally connected to this. Yeah, damn it, they owe us. You guys put us through hell as fans.
I'm writing a column and I'm trying to figure out, because I write the stuff in the evening and then we post it. I'm trying to figure out, Gary, how can I say this without saying they choked away the playoff series with the Dodgers? But in essence, I thought they did choke it away. And then it dawned on me. The word of the day, Sesame Street program, brought to you by the word of the day, receipts. And I wrote right at the end of my column, yesterday's column, Wednesday's column on the website, I have receipts you owe us for last year.
Hacksaw has the receipts.
And I sent that column to the Seidlers and to AJ Preller. And Seidlers responded and said, thank you for your interest in baseball. Didn't say they agreed, but thank you for your interest in baseball. So that was I love opening day. Okay, let's move on.
It's great. Opening day is fantastic. Should be a national holiday. Now, this is an interesting drop here. This is a name you'll remember. It's this Dan Sileo.
Oh, yeah.
From the Dan Sileo show. He says, hey, it's great to see you on here, Hacksaw. Come grab a beer at Cheetah's with your boy Big Sill sometime. Coach Quintera came with me last time.
Well, all you need to do is invite. You get the email address through my website. Send it and we'll go from there. I don't know if the other partner I have would agree with me going to Cheetah's, but I guess anything is humanly possible. That's beyond having a cup of coffee with John to go at breakfast.
Dan Sileo. He's got a follow-up here. Let me get it in. He goes, my prediction for the Dodgers season is that 200-plus fans will get kicked out for fighting and throwing bottles at the field like children by the All-Star break.
Yeah, but this is coming from somebody that's a Philadelphia Eagles fan, so what, you would expect that take. Thanks, Dan. Okay, we move on.
All right, let's go here to Chris. He goes, hats off to Mookie Betts for demanding to be in the lineup today. By the looks of things, he was lucky not to slip through the drain in the shower this morning.
Well, when the story came out, the Mookie Betts had gone from 175 pounds to 157. And he could not practice. And when he practiced, then he got fatigued. I just don't know from a wear and tear body standpoint how he's going to hold up to 162 games. They may have to spot him and play him in different roles, and maybe not play him at shortstop every day, maybe play him twice in a 3-game series and let him DH, or maybe you have to rest him. Because the one thing you don't want a reoccurrence. You don't want this problem to stay and linger with him, because he spent 2 weeks sick. He could not eat at all. And when he ate, then he got sick. So, and again, baseball, I mean, that's a wear and tear factor, John. That is quite a struggle.
Yeah, he lost approximately 1/7 of his body mass in 2 weeks. I mean, they were saying he was throwing up. He couldn't take in any normal food. So I feel bad for the guy. I'm surprised that he's pushed himself to get back. I just kind of wondering if he's gonna have it all in him, or is he gonna ground it out in the infield and run to first base like Manny Machado?
He doesn't have if he doesn't have the power, and if he gets fatigued. So they're gonna Dave Roberts, and they'll do it. Great training staff. They will monitor and try to help him along the way. But he talked himself in because it is opening day and because he's a baseballer. He's a big time baller. That's who he is as a person. He's a really fine player. And talked to him one time when he was in Boston. He's a really good guy, and he's just a stand-up citizen. He wants to be in that lineup all the time.
I remember Red Sox fans were just so bummed when Mookie left and then when Xander left, just as people, regardless of how good of a player they are, they were both quality guys, and they were sad to see him go.
Exactly. Okay, Chris, thanks for being with us. Next one, Fans Forum.
Okay, let's go to Joe. And he says, hey, surprised about Saw's prediction for the Twins finish. Minnesota radio talk shows think they should finish first if Correa, Buxton, and the rest can keep healthy. Go Twins.
I just don't think they have enough pitching. And please tell me, where are the bats going to come to surround Correa? Buxton's a pretty good player, Joe, but Buxton's had a lot of injuries. I mean, he gets dinged a lot. I guess I'm biased. I don't like the poll ads. They're trying to sell the thing, so they tear the thing down from a budget standpoint, and they put a really young team on the field. I don't know. Detroit's been building towards this. I think Detroit's in a better situation right now than some of these others. So, division's weird. Division's really weird. Kansas City, maybe they should be getting more love. I mean, Bobby Witt's a hell of a player, and Kansas City's rented a lot of starting pitching, so maybe you feel that Kansas City has positioned itself. But boy, I like Skubal, and I like the reemergence of Jack Flaherty and the other young pitchers they have, and they got all these young everyday players in Detroit that have kind of force-fed through all the losing. They got pretty good last season until they ran out of arms. So this bears watching. Central Division's kind of a wide open thing, but I don't think Minnesota's got enough.
Yeah, it is wide open. I mean, there's one division. You don't have the Dodgers in there or any of the big time teams. So yeah, why not the Twins? But you'd have to roll back the clock really to the Kirby Puckett era when they were, significant. Seems like they always sort of by default win the AL Central, and then they get knocked out in the first round of the playoffs.
Well, they had Puckett, and they had Gaetti, and they had Herbeck. I mean, there's a phenomenal group of players, cornerstone guys, really good players. But to me, ownership has always been a problem in Minnesota. Nickel and dime stuff. And when Carl Pohlad ran it, he kind of ran it into the ground. They lost a lot of credibility along the way. So we'll see. Spin back, Joe, to my original statement. Just don't think they have enough. We move on. Okay. This is a good example of the evil empire of our Dodger friends. And this is from Hala. He goes, the Padres organization hired an openly racist player in Gurriel to spite the only player who showed up that scoreless run. And the fans wish death on Sasaki and Yoshi by tsunami. Good luck not winning. I'm not quite sure everything he's making comments towards. I'm kind of dealing with the roster and the player acquisitions. I'm not dealing with past stupidity. At the end of the day, just think where the Padres would be if Sasaki had come here. Wouldn't that be something? Because then we'd be talking about Padre pitching staff really being elite, even though they're dinged up right now, and the Dodgers would be less of a pitching staff. If the Dodgers had not gotten Snell and Rocky, then in all honesty, the Padres and Dodgers would probably be on even Steven grounds, but that's not the case right now. Gurriel got a hit. We'll see. Didn't hit at the end. That's why, where was he? Houston got rid of him. Obviously, he's got a lot of miles and he's had a lot of success, but he is 41. So they've got 5 to 7 guys, that whole committee in left field, the whole bench bunch. Those guys are being given his chance. They're being given the month of April just to see if they contribute when called on. And if not, then they'll probably go to El Paso and they'll bring 1 or 2 guys up that are still left there and then just see if, they have a decision to make as to what they're going to do with Eggy Rosario. If he gets through waivers, he has to go to El Paso, but that doesn't mean the phone can't ring. Somebody's going to get hurt. That always happens. I don't know what's going to happen with Tyler Wade, but I don't think a lot of people are very interested in utility guys that hit 211. But that's up to him mentally, whether he wants to go home and sit and wait for the phone to ring or whether go to El Paso on a minor league contract with the Padres and wait for a phone call there, because that always happens. Guys do get called up. So, but these guys, this collective group from Gavin Sheets on through Gurriel and these other guys have to prove themselves. That's all.
You're such a pro, man. You could take a, kind of an oddball question like that and spin it into something. But that questioning is a good example of some of the smack talking on your Instagram page.
Oh yeah,
amongst the Padres and the Dodger fans.
It's okay.
And there's just a bunch of that kind of stuff going on. But yeah, some guys go a little bit too far there. Okay, let's go down here. We'll talk to Richard. He goes, love watching Hacksaw on YouTube. I generally like his info and takes. He's actually interesting in a sea of sports talk sludge.
It's not what it used to be. Actually, I was thinking about that this morning. We used to get so amped when we were all doing sports talk on 690 and 1090. We got so excited, and we had such good guys who had such diverse opinions, and we're all coming at it from a really different angle. Some of us really smart, and some of those guys out there really stupid, but no names. But we had a lot of good fun. We always loved opening day, and I kind of miss some fragments of it. I thought today, shoot, I shouldn't have to be here with this guy today. I should be down there sitting on press row, but we had a podcast to do. So therefore we elected to do this rather than go to opening day. But the fact that all the games are on TV is so cool. And I will say this with the Padres, they worked a deal. This hasn't gotten a lot of ink. They've worked a deal to put 10 of their Saturday games during the season on free TV. Obviously the Padres are on Spectrum and on Cox and pay TV, etc. But they worked a deal where they're putting 10 of their games on Saturdays are going to be on CBS 8 or CW6. Free. Normal TV. Not a hell of a lot of people. Now, they got some money out of the deal, obviously. The company that owns CBS 8 and CW6 paid a fee, but we're going to, for the fans, are going to get access to 10 Padre games on Saturday, which is, I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that sounds about the as a kid growing up in the 70s, that was about as many TV games we got to see for the Giants as about 10 a year.
On black and white TV,
yeah, exactly, on black and white TV. But it's cool that they're doing that, But I just want to take what Richard's angle here about love watching you on YouTube.
I thought he was making reference to me in sludge.
Well, yeah. Well, there is a lot of sludge out there, but I think it's important because in the 90s, when I first experienced you, like I told you, I was blown away. I mean, there was nobody that did sports the way you did sports. And that was before the internet, but ESPN was a shell of what it is now. And you literally blew me away. And the fact that we're doing this podcast together is kind of surreal for me every time I get behind the microphone with you. But now, because of YouTube, I think people my age are now reconnecting with you. And I think there's a whole new generation of people that are being exposed to you. And there's a lot of haters like, who is this old man? Who is this guy? You see some of that like on TikTok. But they're going to see you as well. And you stand out. You are different than 99% of the sports news media.
Tell you what, we have so many followers on live stream. I'm not quite sure how this all works. Maybe John in 15 seconds or less can just explain it. How can all the followers on live stream who enjoy this podcast either live or when they watch it at their convenience, how can they help us? How do they help us promote the quality of the content that we're presenting? Whether they agree or disagree with every topic on the table does not matter, but how do they help us?
Well, there's 4 things. It's always the 4: like, follow, share, and subscribe. So liking and following and subscribing, that's easy. You just click on a button, you're done. But share it, just share the post. And if it's not sharing the live stream, why not just share some of the video clips or some of the short 1-minute videos that we have all over social media?
And giving us a thumbs up and giving us 5 stars, that's huge, is it not?
Yeah, the thumbs up, what all that does is it kind of helps the algorithm. And so when they see that you're liking it, then they begin to recommend the show to other people that have interests similar to you. And the 5-star rating thing is in Apple Podcasts. It's just for Apple Podcasts, but that is the place we use for podcasting.
Okay, explanation. We've done our job, inviting you to do your job, regardless of what hoodie, whatever teams you're wearing. You imagine if I showed up wearing a Pittsburgh Pirate hoodie, or you showed up wearing your Oakland A's cap. Do you think we'd get castigated?
Well, no, I was wearing the A's cap on St. Patrick's Day.
I know.
And there was a guy, one of our followers up in Seattle was angry with me. I think it was Greg, about wearing the hat. But you've worn that Pittsburgh Steelers sweatshirt. I've seen that.
Yeah, I thought about wearing a Yankee one, but I didn't want to offend everybody. So I wore a Dodger one and it offended most everybody.
Well, you got to get a Chief Wahoo one. I mean, for you especially.
I have a winter coat with the Chief Wahoo logo on it that was given to me.
You do?
Yeah, I only can wear one. It snows. Can't wear it now.
I was going to say it'd be kind of weird in the podcast.
It's a little weird in San Diego, that's for certain. Okay, thanks for being with us, Rich. Next one.
Okay, let's go to Hector. He goes, Lee, Stephen A. Smith said he would have thrown hands versus LeBron. Other than John, every time he says he's a Giants Padres fan, has any interview or interaction with a player ever made your blood boil that badly?
I'm trying to think. I never tried being in confrontational mode with anybody when I was in a clubhouse or in a locker room, because that's their space. I'm trying to do my job. Did I get hassled? Yeah, a couple of times. Manny Machado did not treat me very well when we started, when he first got here, but I was just asking questions about where he had been, track record, et cetera, with the Dodgers and in Baltimore. And he kind of got offended. I was just doing my job. I got really turned off by one of the Padre relievers, the guy that was just released in Atlanta, the side armor, the submariner, Craig Kimbrell.
Oh,
I was really offended because all I wanted to do was talk to him about his career and 400 plus saves. And he didn't want to make any time for me because he was doing this kind of stuff on his cell phone. And I said, can I come back? He said, yeah, if I'm around, I'm around. Jeez. So my whole philosophy in terms of dealing with players was, I'm going to do my job. And if you don't want to cooperate, that's okay. I'm going to do my job. And if it doesn't involve you, that's okay. That's one less asshole I got to deal with. But if things don't go right and I criticize you, I'm just doing my job because you're the one that, mistreated me. Other guys are great. Will Myers was great. I really like Chase Headley. Padre pitcher Tim Stauffer. Cool guy. Laid back. You're not supposed to talk to pitchers the day they're pitching. And he stopped me in the hallway. One of the PR guys went crazy. He said, you're violating the rule. I said, not violating the rule. I said, he stopped me. He said, I'm not interviewing him about baseball. We're actually talking about buying a house. And he bought a house up in upstate New York in Saratoga Springs. And my cottage is up in there. So he stopped me and we were talking about buying a house. So don't tell me I violated a rule. By the way, he's a nice guy. So I got along with most of them. Got along with all the managers for the most part. I thought Pat Murphy was kind of weird because he was an interim manager and got thrown into a situation he didn't seem comfortable. And it wasn't like we were going after inside controversial stuff, but crap, he didn't want to answer questions about pitching injuries. And he finally said, guys, I'm going to have an assistant general manager talk to you about pitching injuries. And so he had the assistant general manager, is a really nice guy, Fred Ullman, just retired, been in baseball forever. His dad was an exec with the old Orioles during their first heyday. So Fred would sit in the dugout before the game because Pat Murphy would answer questions for 10 minutes and then walk away. And Fred take his little piece of paper out and it'd update us on what pitcher was in rehab and what he was doing, et cetera. And he got done. He looked at me and I said, Fred, you have a good voice for the BBC. So I tried to get along with most everybody, but sometimes when you're a talk show host, you have to say things because something happens in a game and you question this, that, and the other, but I got along with all of them. And the gem of the guy was, somebody asked me this morning, who's the best you've ever dealt with in San Diego from a Padres standpoint? It was Tony Gwynn. what an unbelievable human being he was.
Oh,
He
yeah.
always had time to answer baseball questions or fun questions or scream at me across the clubhouse. Hey, Hacksaw, get over here. So for the most part, I've enjoyed all of it, and some of it was a little rocky, but that comes with the territory of who I am.
Yeah. I mean, because you have very little filter, and so you will, sometimes probably
good or bad.
It'll upset guys, But this is an interesting opportunity to segue into something, because we're talking about confrontations between sports media and players. You were the colleague of Jim Rome when he got nailed by Jim Everett on television. Take me through your whole take on that situation.
That's a different topic for a different day. We wouldn't want to eat up a lot more time, but Rome was always yapping and always had these cool angles to things, quote, his takes. And he had been bagging on Jim Everett forever. And this is just after Jim had left us and had gone to, I guess it was the first go round at ESPN. And he was trying to lay his groundwork of who I am and what he was going to be. And he got Everett to come on the show in Los Angeles. And I knew Jim and I knew Jim Everett also. And I thought to myself, he's going to say something to egg this guy on to create a situation. And there must have been 10 of us standing in the newsroom at the old 690 after Jim had left. And we were watching the interview, and I just had this sense that he was going to do this. And he started to call him Chrissy Everett. And Jim Everett made the comment, you invite this guy on, you treat him with respect. I don't care whether you think he's a good quarterback or chicken bleep quarterback or whatever. You treat the guy with respect. And Romy just kept dropping this Chrissy Everett. And Jim Everett got up and grabbed Jim Rome, and Jim is backpedaling and almost, I guess he fell off the stage.
Yeah, he did.
I totally forgot that he had fallen off the stage. Yeah. And I thought, holy cow, you can be a wise ass and all that, but there's going to be receipts if you do that. And he learned a lesson. He almost got fired because of the confrontation he created. And he just created it by being a wise ass. Chet Forty, our longtime co-host with Steve Hartman, went to ABC and saved Jim Rome's job because they were going to can his ass. That's too bad. I think Romy learned a lot, but that stuck with him forever and ever. The anniversary of that was just a couple months ago. And I saw a clip on TV. I said, oh, yeah, I remember that. But a whole bunch of guys in the newsroom were cheering. Those guys became Jim Everett fans that day because Romy was great. I mean, we all have different shtick, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me I don't care what anybody thinks, etc. And whether Cilio was right or wrong when he replaced me, or whether the coach was great or not great, or what Hartman cared and what Romy, it doesn't matter. We all came at it from different angles, but my whole philosophy is respect the athlete. Now, you have to ask the athlete tough questions along the way. You can't be a cheerleader. And if an athlete gets really upset about it, okay, so he gets upset about it. If a guy gets physical and confrontational with you, that's the athlete stepping over the line. I'm not going to step over the line. I've had players get very upset at me. One of my good friends on the Chargers was Rodney Harrison, and I called him a thug after he got nailed with a big penalty in a game against the Cincinnati Bengals. And Bobby Ross, the coach, told me on the postgame show he deserves to get fined because he was headhunting. And Rodney played that way.
Yeah.
And I made a comment on the talk show that Monday night that Rodney's going to get fined, and there's no reason for Rodney to do this. And then I made some sidebar comment, please somebody tell Rodney Harrison who Darryl Stingley is, because Darryl Stingley broke his neck on a heavy hit, a cheap shot hit by Jack Tatum. And Rodney Harrison was playing like Jack Tatum. He was way over the line. He was taking all kinds of personal foul penalties. And then I'll wrap this up real quickly. So we're about to go on the road with the Chargers the next week, and we all flew on the team charter. And Rodney grabbed me before we got on a plane and said, why'd you say that about me? I said, Rodney, because it's true. He said, Bobby Ross said you're going to get fined. You just got fined. You're a great player. You don't need to play this way. And by the way, do you know who Darryl Stingley is? You don't want to wind up that way with a broken neck because you're headhunting all the time. You could get hurt too. We solved it, and Rodney and I became friends, and Rodney went on and has done great things on TV, on NFL broadcast, on NBC for a long time. So, but I don't go looking for it. I don't say stuff just to say stuff. But sometimes you have to be honest. And like I say, people walk around in grudge mode, and some people carry receipts, and That's the best you can do.
I think the carrying the receipts is going to be it's going to be in your new gloss, talking about Rome and the shtick. But I'll tell you this. I mean, I loved you in the 90s, still love you and what you do and the style that you bring to the table.
You're damn right I'm bleeping brilliant.
You do great. But I want to also say that I like Rome too. And Rome would use words to really piss people off. Sure. I mean, to intentionally poke the bear. And I remember he had the Rat Family where all these, players and coaches that kind of had like a certain jaw structure that he would make fun of them. And he got in a lot of trouble for that. But you could see that Rome, when that Jim Everett thing happened, he just rocketed, in terms of everyone talking about it. And then you could see that as he matured, he kind of reeled it back in, and he's still edgy, but not an idiot about it.
No, I concur. He did not like when I made reference to him. Remember the TV show Welcome Back, Kotter? I used to call him Horseshack because he looked like Arnold Horseshack. And I used to say that he used to lose his mind. It's okay. I'm just, you say poking the bear.
Yeah, it's all good though, man.
All right, listen, let's go to social media. We got a few people here with opinions, and then we're going to wrap this up on the opening day of the Major League Baseball season. John, I don't know whether that Padre hoodie's too tight and affects the blood flow to the brain. John keeps going off on tangents on me here. Go ahead.
It's all good. That makes conversation fun. Okay, let's talk some Dodgers here. And this is with B New Man. He's commenting on how many wins and losses you predicted. He says 52 losses. Ugh, I don't know about that. Probably only lose 30.
Yeah, but remember, it's a grind of a season. You're going to have some injuries along the way. If anything were to ever happen to Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts, then it'd be a very, very different team. But this, to win 100 is an accomplishment. To get to 105, spectacular. To get to the 110, the talk show host said, that'd be absolutely amazing. So we'll just see where it goes. But they're a really, really good team. I hate to say the season's over in the National League West, but the season's over in the National League West. Yay?
Yeah, you say it's a Dodger Invitational. Man, imagine that if they only lost 30, that'd be what, 132 and 30.
That's not going to happen in modern day baseball. Trust me.
Yeah, you remember 1984, because that was the Padre year when they were the World Series. The Detroit Tigers came out of the gate 35-5.
Sure, it was that Sparky Anderson's Tigers. Yeah,
and then it was just a few years ago. What was it? The Toronto team that came out of the gate undefeated, or maybe it was the Rays. They went like 14-0 to start the season, or something like that. So. Yeah.
But I also remember Frank Robinson's Baltimore Orioles were 0-21.
Really?
Yes, way back in the day. And of course, the White Sox last year. God, what was that losing streak? Did they lose? I get my sports confused. Did they lose 28 in a row, or was that the Detroit Pistons?
I don't think it was that many.
But they lost 121 games.
Yeah.
All-time record.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, you ever go back and watch the movie Moneyball?
Sure.
And they go about, their winning streak was like, what was it, got to 20 or
21,
so.
I think.
Yeah, and those are just great times. That's what makes sports so romantic, it's cool. Okay, let's go here. Let's talk some Chargers with Harp City. And he says, hey, need to go heavy on defense in this draft. Your whole D-line and outside backers are on one-year deals.
Well, they lost cornerstone guys. Now those guys got pay raises. Poona Ford went to the Rams, $9 million a year. Chargers were not going to pay him that, even though they had the space. Morgan Fox went to Atlanta Falcons. Those are two starting inside defensive tackles. Let Bosa go. I would never pay Bosa $25 million, but I would have gone back to Bosa and said, listen, we're keeping Khalil Mack for one more year to see if we can get there. How about you come here, play for 15? We're taking a pay cut. Instead, he wound up going to Buffalo for 12. But the guys they've got, one was not a starter. One guy only started 2 games. That's going to be a defensive tackle. So they see things in guys. They're going to try to grow them into the role of defensive tackle, but they need a pass rusher. So that's an issue. I still think there's going to be a speed receiver they have to go get. And now they're going to have to determine what they're doing at running back. If they lose J.K. Dobbins, who gave them bursts and could catch balls and run tough, he's a different type of running back. If they lose J.K. Dobbins, they're going to have to go get somebody's speed at running back. So as we look forward, they drafted 22. It's a little hard to project right now what they're going to wind up with. But I think Burner at wide receiver, as you allude to, Harp, helping the defensive front, the big boy department. And then I think they got to figure out what kind of running back they want to complement Najee Harris, who I like. But Najee Harris is not a game breaker. He's a banger.
Why didn't the Chargers sign Cooper Kupp? I mean, that was the perfect fit, wasn't it?
Yeah, but Cooper Kupp went for 3 years, $45 million.
Okay, so they just didn't want to pay that money.
No, not pay. And he's 32, and he's had injuries 3 years in a row. And he had a $20 million number with the Rams, and I said no. And Rams didn't even attempt to keep him. I think the injury factor and the age had a lot to do with it, but he goes up there for $15 million a year. I mean, he's going to be one of the guys for the Seahawks. Got to stay healthy. It's kind of cool. He's going home. He went to Eastern Washington out in Spokane. I think it's a great story, dedication, success, and opportunity. So I'm hoping this. I've talked to him one time. I like him as a player. I think he's a gamer. I think he's a little bit of a leader. So I'm hoping it works for him up in Seattle and the Pacific Northwest. I don't know that they have enough talent on that team right now, but that's why the Chargers didn't go get him. The price was way too high. He would have been good, but I don't think he's the kind of burner they want. What they need is a terrorist. I'm talking about him. Excuse the expression.
I just love the vocabulary. It's great.
They need 4.3
Yeah.
who can run and catch, not be Quentin Johnston.
Well, that's the thing is we weren't sure if they're going to go for the big wide receiver or if they were going to beef up the line because Bosa's gone and all that. So I don't know. I mean, who's the top receiver coming out in this draft? Is it the kid from Ohio State?
Well, he's one of them. I mean, there's about 3 or 4. As we spin into April, we'll start spending more time on the NFL draft. But it's a pretty good draft. Offensive lineman, very good draft. Skill guys, wide receiver. Phenomenal draft at the top of the draft in defensive football players. But the Chargers are drafting 22. So who knows who's dropping down for them.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, next one.
Okay, let's go here, talk a little Padres. And this is from Jake Kenter, and he says, I'll bet you a brewski the Pods win over 80 games this year.
Oh, yeah, I think they're over 500. The question is...
You predicted 80.
No, I predicted 85 and 77.
No, I think you had the Diamondbacks at 85 wins and the Padres at 80.
No, I predicted.
Okay, all right.
You're good. That's why they put erasers on pencils, too. No, I think all along I've said 85 and 77. But they can't have anything go wrong. You know, last year I projected 88 and they won 93, and then we had the fabulous run to the playoffs until they decided they'd hand out receipts because they couldn't finish the season. They can't afford any injuries. If they're completely healthy, if Darvish comes back and there's no more physical setbacks, and some of these question mark guys in left or in the bench bunch, if they have good seasons, a couple of those guys have good seasons, this could be an 88 or 90 win team, but I don't think that's possible right now. To me, they're just really wafer thin. Cannot afford any pitching injuries to starters at all. And we have to see from the Gavin Sheets all the way down to the bench bunch, can a couple of those guys have real good seasons? Because they need those real good seasons. It just can't be the top 5 guys in the batting order. That's all they get.
It seems to me there's a strategy here by AJ Preller because he put a lot of these veterans in on the, the bench positions more so than we thought. I'm wondering if he's figuring we'll see who can revive the career. We're going to give him 30 games, 45 games. And then when you finally got to just cut loose on, Yuli Gurriel, he's turning into Nelson Cruz. We have got Tirso Ornelas that is ready to pop in and he'll slide in.
And he'll get his turn. That's what,
yeah.
I'm sure that's what they told the guys that they wound up sending to El Paso. I don't know what they're going to do with Eggy Rosario because he was DFA'd today. He has to go on waivers, could be claimed, and then they could trade him. Or maybe nobody wants to claim him because if you claim a guy, you got to put him on your roster. Or if you're claiming a guy, you're taking somebody off your 25 or somebody off your 40. So maybe nobody wants to do it at this point with Eggy Rosario. But, they tell those guys, do this because the phone's going to ring and you're going to get your chance. Right now, the chances go into Yuli Gurriel. Don't hit 170 over a month, otherwise you'll be gone. And the investment they've made on these guys is really minimal. Remember, every contract in baseball is guaranteed opening day. So if they cut Gurriel, he gets his 1.1 million, whatever the minimum number was, etc.
Well, you remember like in the offseason, like in November, the Padres signed the big re-signing of Tyler Wade, who didn't make the team, but he had a contract was like $1 million or
900,000.
So is that guaranteed? Is he getting paid?
No, because he was not on the opening day roster.
Okay.
Minor league contract. Was it not even on the 40? I don't believe. And so he has to decide, was he want to go to El Paso and play on that 900,000 contract and wait for the phone to ring, or go home, work out, wait for somebody to get hurt in Detroit or Kansas City or wherever and see if the phone rings. But he's a super utility guy. There's utility guys all over the planet. So
the Angels got a lot of them.
Yeah, they're all on the starting lineup for the Halos right now. All right, next one. Let's just move this quickly.
Okay, moving quickly. Okay, let's go here. Talk Padres again. This is from Great FX. Hey, Darvish's shoulder fatigue in spring training. He's done and 40 years old. How has he got fatigue before the game or before the season starts?
Well, it wasn't necessarily fatigue. It was discomfort in the elbow. It was tightness in the elbow. This is going to be a long process. I'm not going to say he's done because that's unfair to the greatness of the pitcher. The guy's got a lot of miles. He's had some elbow flares 3 years in a row. He had surgery. A lot of people forgot this. He missed a whole year in 2015. So let's just be fair to a pretty good major league pitcher that he's had a setback. But if you've had a setback in spring training, that's a concern that this is a wear and tear thing. But they're not ready to give up on him, and they'll handle him with kid gloves. And, we'll see. If we're sitting here April 15th and he's yet to really start throwing, now you're alarmed that maybe it's much more than that. I usually am of the opinion elbow tightness means there's something wrong in the forearm or in the ligament area. You do an MRI. I don't believe they've done the MRI yet. If you have that type of flare-up and there's inflammation, plasma platelet injection or cortisone, which calms it down. But that takes time for you to come back from that because you're in total shutdown mode. You don't pick up a ball. You don't do anything. So we don't know that they've done an MRI because they haven't answered that question. I don't think he's had an injection yet. But usually if they give you an injection and it doesn't take, that means it's a much more severe problem.
You know that there's an old baseball term for that, the pitching coaches use, and it's dead arm.
Well, dead arm is normally about shoulders.
Oh, it is?
Yes,
okay.
This is about this.
Because I thought dead arm was sort of like this generic term that just meant that there was something wrong, and now scientifically we know. But you're saying it's specific to the shoulder.
Yeah, pretty much. It's
interesting.
It's fatigue. It's tendonitis. Sometimes dead arm leads to rotator cuff. Sometimes it's bicep. Again, we're talking about guys throw with a lot of force. Guys throw a lot of different pitchers. The guys throw a lot of stress on their arm. So that's the rationale. But this dead arm is different than what's going on down here.
Oh, okay. Here we go. A little orthopedics going on here on the podcast.
I did not cut class that they taught medicine at Ohio University.
Biology class. Okay, let's get it. Here's just another kind of fun one. And this is from Grand Pony Amnesia. He says, hey, admire that an old coot like Hacksaw being a total boss on social media. Much respect.
Oh, old coot. Come on now. This is called experience. This is called expertise. This is called knowledge. This is called bleeping brilliance. I had to teach myself how to use all the social media stuff because I don't have a 12-year-old living in my house anymore. I learn as I go in terms of, I call him. I said, John, I got this problem with this computer. He says, asshole, turn it on. It won't go on. John's explained a whole bunch of things to me about that technology, but no, it's a new thing. The most amazing thing, and I tell people this all the time. I told him this the first time I met him. Me doing this is really kind of cool. You're talking to a guy who's on social media everywhere. I think John's got us on 10 different social platforms.
Mm-hmm.
This is also the guy that's got a Royal manual typewriter in his garage on his shelf that would still work if I could find ribbons for it. So this is new breed, old school.
It is, and this is the beautiful thing about this. Because, I had started up my own podcast and we got connected by a mutual friend. But the thing about it is you were like waiting to have an opportunity to do this podcast because you are loaded with content. You just walk down the street and sports takes and commentary are flying out of your mouth or coming out of your hands as you're writing your articles. You have so much sports information.
I needed a vehicle.
You needed a vehicle and a channel, and we need to get you into some of these digital platforms. And now you're blowing up again, man. I mean, it's like it's like the resurgence of Lee Hacksaw Hamilton.
Oh, well, it's all your fault. You created this. And I always tell people all the time, don't like the podcast? Blame him.
Yeah, there you go.
He's the one that created this whole idea. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, listen, we hope you've enjoyed this lengthy podcast. It might be the longest one we've done as we're in our third year of doing this podcast. You can help us a great deal by sharing and subscribing and giving us a thumbs up, giving us a 5-star vote on each of the different social platforms. We're here Thursdays at 1:30, Mondays with a bonus podcast at 1:30. We hope you've enjoyed it. This podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers, 9 locations to serve you in San Diego. Build it or fix it. We guarantee you will enjoy it in 2025, thanks to DIXIELINE Lumber. Baseball, opening day. Just so cool. You look pretty good. I don't know if I look good, but I'm wearing this out of the memory of my dad.
Well, yeah, and our buddy David is, he gave us a donation. Thank you, David. And he loves it that you're wearing the Dodger blue. Other people, funny, on the live chat, Flegel wants to still keep talking about Rome and Jim Everett.
Another topic for another day. Guarantee we will do something on Sports Talk Radio. By the way, we do Sports Talk on this podcast the way it should be done. Hey, thanks for being with us. Enjoy the great sports weekend, the start of the baseball season. March Madness NFL draft is just around the corner. We will be back Monday at 1:30. John, have yourself a great sports weekend. Thanks for anchoring and sharing this.
Yeah, happy opening day.
Same to you. Thanks for being with us on Hacksaw's Headlines.
Join us again for Hacksaw's Headlines on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And find the audio version on your favorite podcast apps. For more content, go to LeeHacksawHamilton.com.